velvet hours behind the door. The lobby clock at the Aurelius loses 2 minutes every week, and I've stopped fixing it. Guests drift in with red eyes and rumor-laden suitcases, dropping their secrets between the marble and my notebook, and the clock softens whatever they've done, the way dusk forgives a city. I'm the night manager, the man people choose when they don't want daylight to see them. You learn to tell stories from the way an elevator closes. You learn that guilt tips heavier than leather. And sometimes you learn the thing you never wanted to know. That night the rain fell soft, as if the sky didn't want to wake anyone. I watched it from behind the reception desk, gloved in lamplight, and shuffled arrivals I knew by fake names. A jazz trio from the lounge filtered up the staircase with a song that made the bell jars on the bar hum. The Aurelius is 5 floors of velvet corridors and discreet engineering. Our owner likes to say we're a palace of silence. The staff call it a church where nobody prays for anything holy. At 11:06, the revolving door took a deep breath and then eased out a woman wearing a long camel coat and a hood that hid everything except a mouth I recognized by the curve of the upper lip. Some women have a walk like a passport. My wife, Ray, has a mouth like a verdict, certain and soft at the same time. She was supposed to be in Phoenix, shepherding a branding campaign I'd heard about for months, a perfume launch with ads that made breath look expensive. She tossed her hood back partway, just enough to tuck hair behind her ear. I saw the pale comma of her profile, and then the elevator took her. I stood still because training tells you that movement is confession. On the desk sat a check-in note I'd written an hour earlier. Penthouse 502, midnight arrival, VIP discretion. No name, just a phone number and a credit card that belonged to a shell company the owner uses when his friends don't want to be Googleable. I could have called her. I could have said the hotel had a plumbing issue, a blackout, a bomb scare, any lie that bought me time. Instead, I did what I do best. I watched the elevator floor numbers bloom and fade, the soft red countdown of what I believed in. "Busy?" came a voice beside me. Nadia slipped into the lobby like someone who knows how to be quiet without apologizing. She's our night florist, if that's a job. She brings arrangements that look like midnight thinking, white lilies that lean toward the sound of a piano, small jars of myrtle wrapped in twine. She also curates a gallery around the corner and lives in a third-floor walk-up that overlooks a bakery which starts its day when ours ends. We're friends because we've seen each other change grocery stores. "You're out early," I said, which in our language means you're out late. "Opening tomorrow," she said. "Needed to see if the brass vases arrived. They didn't." She rested her elbows on the desk and studied me like a painting whose story isn't obvious. "You look like someone just handed you a mirror." "Ray checked in," I said. My voice did not crack. I pressed a key and printed the most neutral piece of information I could, a receipt for a taxi no one would pay attention to. Under a name I don't know, to a room I do. Nadia glanced at the elevator, then at me. Her earrings were small crescents that flashed when she turned her head. "You want me to say you're wrong. I want you to tell me what to do and then take the blame for it," I said. We smiled the way people smile at the edge of a cliff. "Do you want to go up and be wrong?" she asked softly. I could see the penthouse in my mind. The hallway carpet darker there, the door heavier, the room smelling faintly of cedar and new money. I thought of Ray laughing at my terrible cooking, of her reading the margins of my life out loud. "You keep receipts like trophies." And of the time we danced barefoot in our kitchen because a storm knocked out the power and the only light was the glow from the clock on the oven. I thought of the last text she'd sent. "Wheels up. Be good." The little airplane emoji had felt earnest and foolish. "Maybe I'll just stand at the door and listen," I said. The words were ugly. They tasted like the metal underside of a spoon. Nadia's hand found my sleeve. Or we go get air that isn't for sale, she said. They'll still be there in 10 minutes. Secrets never rush. We stepped outside. Rain stitched a fine net across the street. The Aurelius wore it like jewelry. Nadia offered me half of her umbrella and we went to the corner where the bakery would start glowing in 4 hours, where a stray cat sleeps under a bicycle with a blue bell. The city was the sound of tires moving through water. I pulled my tie loose, like that might create altitude. She came in alone, I said to the rain, because the city always pretends it's a priest. But the room name says different. Nadia tilted her umbrella so the rain kissed her cheek. You want to hear something I should probably keep? Her laugh was soft and well-behaved, a tiny rebellion. My husband is late tonight, again. He's in advertising, the kind that serves champagne to clients who forget the world has other people in it. He texted an hour ago, "Don't wait up." I told him to bring home baguettes anyway. You never told me you were married, I said, and she shrugged like a woman who knows she's kept the right number of lives private. A ring sat on her finger, thin gold, simple as a sentence you can't improve by embellishing. Not the first thing I laid with, she said. Makes people assume I'm finished making choices. She looked up at me then, the way you look at a stranger you want to trust. Want to gamble on a theory. All the wrong money I have is on theories, I said. My husband, she said carefully, has a client named Ray. I've never seen her face. Just the name on calendars, the sudden silences when I walk into rooms that were laughing 2 seconds prior. I'm not jealous by nature. I believe in grown people managing their impulses. But sometimes I can feel a draft in the house and all the windows are closed. The umbrella felt too small. The street felt too narrow. Inside me, something arranged itself like furniture being moved. I work in a building where almost everything is a coincidence, I said. I've learned to be suspicious of how perfectly life lines up when it wants to be cruel. We went back in because the city started to feel like it was listening too closely. I took the elevator key from the drawer, the one that turns public spaces private. We didn't speak while the cab rose. The tiny mirror over the buttons gave us back faces that belonged in paintings of ships about to sail. On 5, the carpet swallowed our steps. The corridor smelled different up there, more polished wood, less human. I stood in front of 502 with the air in my lungs holding a vote. Nadia kept her hand near my arm, not touching, the gravity of a star that knows it has influence. I didn't use the key. I knocked, 3 gentle taps, a request, not a command. The door opened enough to leak perfume, something with bergamot and a memory of green apples. It was Ray's, a scent she chose after we spent a long hot day in a farmer's market buying herbs we never used. She looked at me the way people look at an avalanche they started by singing too loudly. Evan, she said. She did not ask why I was there. She pulled the door wider with a composure I wanted to hate and couldn't. Behind her, the room smoldered with the clean light of good bulbs. A jacket lay across the velvet chair, a man's, the inside lining monogrammed in discreet gold. The bathroom hummed as if steam had just made an argument and won. "Hello," I said. It sounded like a word we'd borrowed. "Come in," she said, "please." Nadia hovered half a step behind me, both present and impossible. Ray's eyes flicked to her, then back to me, pulling the math together. I watched her mouth compose a persuasive line and then decide against it. She's good at this, deciding what will make a story hurt less when you say it out loud. "We can leave the door open," Nadia suggested, in a tone that carried more kindness than I thought nights like this could afford. Ray nodded. "I'm not going to lie to you," she said to me, which is always a sentence too late. "I didn't come alone." She swallowed, and I could see the way her throat worked like a dancer choosing steps. "But it isn't what you think." "The sentence people say when it is exactly what I think," I replied, and regretted the bitterness because it didn't feel like me. Only an audition for a man I didn't want to be. The bathroom stopped humming. A figure moved in the frosted glass. Then it opened and the man stepped into the doorway, hair damp, shirt crisp. He carried the kind of careless charisma that gets people into rooms without knocking. He was also, unmistakably, Nadia's husband. I didn't need the photos my brain offered me. His face on a billboard near the river, selling certainty. He wore a ring that matched Nadia, in everything except integrity. We stood in a square of silence that would have made the lobby clock stop for good. He saw me, then Nadia, and in one blink I watched him audition every strategy he had. His mouth chose apology. His shoulders chose charm. His eyes chose escape. "You're Gabriel," Nadia said. She kept her voice level enough to set a glass on. "You forgot the baguettes." He tried a smile. It did not survive. "Nadia." "Don't," she said, which is one of the kindest words in the world when used correctly. Ray moved between us, palms up, small tremor like a moth in a fist. "This started as work," she said to me. "It stayed too late. I didn't plan to." "You planned to lie kindly," I said, "and I suppose you did." She came closer, and the scent of her made my whole history sit up. She touched my sleeve. "Evan, we've been drifting. You live at night, I live at noon. We said we'd meet at dusk and then forgot how." Her mouth trembled once and I felt it in my ribs. I made a stupid, hungry choice. I could have shouted. I could have cataloged every moment I'd been a good man. Instead, I did what I do for a living. I noticed the details, the wet shine inside Gabriel's hairline, the way Nadia's fingers toyed with the edge of her ring, rolling it to the knuckle and back, the shoes Ray wore, the ones we bought in Lisbon when the street climbed up like a wall and we laughed until our throats ached. I noticed the hollow just under my breastbone where something used to live, and it wasn't broken, it was simply ready. I turned to Nadia. "I'm not a man with a plan," I said, "but I can offer you a hallway where no one else gets to speak." She breathed out slow. "I'll take that." We left our spouses standing in a polite rectangle of guilt. We didn't slam the door. On the balcony at the end of the corridor, the city spread itself like rough silk. Rain pinned tiny sparks to the streetlights. I leaned against the railing. Nadia stood close enough that her shoulder warmed the sleeve of my jacket through the damp. "Tell me one true thing," she said. "I loved her," I said. "Not the past tense we used to be dramatic, the ordinary past. I loved her. And I think I've been waiting for the night I stop pretending a clock can be fixed by turning the hands." She nodded. "One true thing from me," she said. "I knew about this possibility the first time I saw the name on his calendar. That's the thing about shadows. They have the right shape even when you try not to look." We were quiet. The rain softened to a mist. Somewhere below us, a taxi closed its trunk with a sound like a book deciding to end. "I don't want to be cruel," I said, "but I don't want to be what I was yesterday." Nadia turned so her shoulder brushed my chest, not an accident. "We don't have to be anything," she said. "We can just be here for 4 minutes." Her hand found mine. Her palm was cool from the night, then warmer, as if my name were a match being struck. I felt the blood move in my fingers, a small parade. We didn't kiss then. We stood and let our bodies figure out where to be in a world that had shifted by a few important inches. My breath changed. Hers did too. The kind of closeness you feel just before a song begins. Beneath us, the city exhaled, long and forgiving. When we went back to the room, Ray had put on her coat. Gabriel stood beside the minibar, as if a tiny bottle of bourbon might testify on his behalf. Ray met my eyes and I watched her do the math again, not of love or betrayal, but of what comes next. "We should talk tomorrow," she said. "Not here, not like this." "You're right," I said and meant it. The night is a poor courtroom. It's too good at making things feel inevitable. I gave her a key card for a smaller room on 3, a courtesy we extend to guests who need space and don't know how to ask. I gave Nadia one as well, and a new toothbrush wrapped in paper. The doors closed softly on both of them, and the corridor returned to velvet. Downstairs, the lobby clock continued to lose its 2 minutes a week. I stood behind the desk with a towel and polished the marble as if I could sand the truth into a finer grain. Gabriel left by the service elevator. He didn't look back. Sometimes men understand the route out better than the way in. I turned the desk lamp down and drifted toward the lounge. The trio had stopped. A single bartender wiped a single glass with the dedication of a quiet man. I poured water and let it wash the rust from my mouth. The night washed over me like a tide that didn't ask questions. At 3:12, Nadia came down the stairs wearing a sweater she must have found in the room's closet. She looked like a woman who had not slept on purpose. I walked around the desk without thinking, as if to meet the last train. We stood in the middle of the lobby where the spine of the building met the heart of it. She smiled, small and sincere. "I kept the ring on," she said. "I wanted to feel the weight of it, not out of loyalty, out of clarity." She studied my face. I felt seen, tenderly and without mercy. "Walk with me to the bakery." We went out into a city that had turned itself fresh. The rain had cleaned the edges. Dawn climbed the glass of office towers with sticky hands. The baker propped the door with a crate. The air was sugar and warm air and the good ache of things beginning. We sat on the curb with our coffee and a loaf that hissed when we tore it. Nadia tucked her hair behind one ear. Her earrings caught the light that wasn't light yet. "I don't know who I am tomorrow," she said, "but today I am someone who wants to be gentle with you." I felt something loosen, tight knots untying themselves because patience had finally been invited. I touched her wrist, a polite hello from skin to skin, then let my thumb rest in the delicate groove where pulse declares itself. She leaned a little and I met her halfway. The kiss we made was unhurried, a kind of truth that didn't need testimony. No spectacle, just breath and a hum in the ribs and the feeling of a door opening onto a room we didn't have to name yet. We stopped with our foreheads together, because there's a sweetness in not rushing the second chapter. When I finally returned to the Aurelius, the lobby clock looked at me like an accomplice. I took the key from my pocket and opened the glass face. With the tip of a pen, I nudged the minute hand forward until the time matched morning. I left the glass open. Let the hour breathe. Ray texted around noon. We should sit by a real window. I wrote back, yes. The word felt honest and insufficient and right. Nadia's message came 2 minutes later. Baguettes acquired. Gallery opens at 7 if you want to see what dawn looks like on canvas. I wrote I get off at 6. I'll bring the minutes we reclaimed. Behind the desk, I straightened the postcards. Black and white photographs of the Aurelius through the years. Lovers and bellhops and famous faces that might be aliases. Outside, the city shook its shoulders and started again. Inside, a man who had believed in other people's alibis more than his own finally found one he could live with. Not an excuse, but a promise to meet the day without pretending. The night will come back as it always does, bringing people who want to be one thing in the dark and another with the lights up. I'll greet them, hand them keys, fix a clock, and keep what should be kept. And when the velvet hours arrive again, I'll remember how the rain sounded against the umbrella, how a hand in mine can be a place, and how forgiveness sometimes starts at a bakery, warm and simple, before the world has a chance to complicate it.